Alright. Went and took on a side job for a guy I know that's got a 65 Mustang, I believe. And I haven't really dove into this tune at all. This is running off of a Wizard tune that was done. He just purchased the car off someone, and it's running rich, but overall it fires up great and it seems to idle well, but he said it just runs rich. I'm sure it's just running off of all the Wizard setup. I haven't reviewed or looked over any of this, so this video is unrehearsed, unscripted, and I'm going to be pretty much having to dig around in here to see what I'm working with. So you're viewing it as I'm viewing it. So we're going to start off with System EFI, or System ICF. It's a 393, 351 Windsor Stroker. It does have a hybrid spark setup I saw underneath the hood. It's got a mild kind of street strip cam, which is accurate according to that. I want to say it's about a 5.5 lift. Let's see. I say 5.5, 550 thou lift. I didn't really pay attention much on the duration, but it doesn't pull a lot of vacuum at idle. It's running a base Sniper, 60 psi. I haven't checked anything mechanically on the car. It doesn't seem to have any issues offhand. I'm going to probably have to go back and change some of this stuff because I don't know if these outputs are actually used. It has a mechanical fan on the engine, but it does have an electric fan on the front for I think a transmission cooler, and I don't know if these outputs are actually working for that for some reason. So I don't want to disable them until I take a look. The AC shut down. It doesn't have AC that I saw, so another thing I'll probably disable, but for the time being I'm going to leave active because I don't know if he's using it to actually turn something else off with this output. So in case you don't know, these outputs are ground outputs, and it's just, a cause and effect. So trigger on, trigger off, and it puts out output to this ground. And same thing for AC shutdown. AC shutdown is going to be a throttle position or a temperature, and it's going to cut ground. Actually, I don't remember if it, I guess it applies ground. Yeah, I want to say this applies ground if these are triggered, but it's supposed to work for an AC shutdown. So essentially, if ground is applied, it would trigger a relay and cut the AC compressor off, usually. But he might have it set up to do something else. So I don't want to turn off any of this yet because he might actually have these outputs used for something. I've got to look and see if they're actually physically wired or not. If not, you want to make sure to turn these off, obviously, because all that's happening is you're going to be outputting a ground to a wire that's not in use, and it's just more possible interference to get picked up on. So we'll verify these later. Closed loop learns are the default 50s. We're not going to touch those for right now. I will, once I get this car dialed in a little bit more, I'll dial these back, and it'll vary. The idle area will essentially be off. It'll be very minimal adjustment allowed at idle. The higher end up here, where you're under like wide open throttle, is going to have the most option for change. Not so much to remove fuel, but to add fuel. And the reason that's important on these snipers is if for any reason one of these injectors dies, is throttle body injection. So the other injectors can save the engine from leaning out if an injector fails, or if a fuel pump starts to die and isn't putting out the fuel pressure you need. It could also allow it to, the injectors could prevent a lean condition. So up high, we want to keep the positive up high, and then the fuel reduction will dial back to like 10-15% maybe. The learns will be roughly the same as the closed loop, maybe a little bit more allowed on the learn than on the closed loop, or possibly even vice versa. It just depends, scenario based. So we won't touch any of that for right now. Let's take a look at this spark table. And just as I figured, it's this is Wizard Tune, so we're going to change this simple to a 2D, and you see what the Wizard does. You block off an idle, you block off a cruise, and then you block off a wide open throttle. And it is a cliff face, you have this one cell buffer. You know, these right here, and then across to these right here. I'll show you what it looks like on the graph. Yeah. Why can't I not spin this? I'm pretty sure I used to be able to spin this. Oh, it's just really laggy. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I don't know what my computer's doing right now. Apparently it's dying. Huh. There we go. Alright, anyways, I don't know what it's doing. It doesn't want to cooperate. Usually you can grab that and spin it, I thought, but it's been a while since I've been in the tuning software. Could have sworn you could grab this and turn it. But apparently you have to scroll the scroll wheel to turn it. But anyways, you see what I was talking about with it being a straight up cliff face. So we go to from 15 degrees to 25 to 36. So crazy jumps, crazy jumps. We're gonna fix that. Oh, that's where I was just at. Cranking parameters, the default 15 degree cranking at 400 RPM. Rev limit, holy crap. So we do not want a 20,000 RPM rev limit. Based off of this, it's set to 8,000. This is a 393 stroker, so 351 Windsor. I'm gonna ballpark. Well, here, let's just do this. Let's go to fuel table. Excuse me for a sec. Apologies, had to sneeze. Figured I'd mute my mic first. So let's take a look at the learn table. Looks like he has run it all the way up to 67.5. Whether it be him or the previous owner, it's been revved pretty high up. I'm gonna ballpark and say 6 grand is probably where he wants a rev limit. We can adjust it later. For the time being, I'm setting it to 6,000. If he wants to run it higher than that, he can. So before we do anything else, so this file name is, I just put underscore start, so that's the starting point. This is the tune that's running on the car whenever I picked up the SD card the other day. So we're gonna save config as, and we're just gonna take this and take the start and put rs tune. That's a good start. Alright, so now we have a new tune, so we're not altering the starting tune. So I can always fall back to the original if I need to. I suggest you doing this I suggest you do this anytime you're gonna be messing the tune. Make a backup. You wanna, anytime you make changes, you want to always save as and rename a new file. And to give you a ballpark idea, this is my car, Elena. For anyone that doesn't watch or hasn't been watching me, these are all my tunes. I just date them. And before I change the tune, I label it .backup, and then I'll make a change for that date. So I'll make the backup that day before I make any changes, then I'll make the change file. So this allows me to roll back to multiple tunes. If a tune file ever gets corrupted, if a change gets made and the car starts acting funny, I can always roll back to the backup before I make any changes that day, so on. So these files are small. I highly recommend creating backups. Since he's not tuning it, he's not going to be in this software, I'm not going to bother dating these. I'm just going to name it. The 1.0 is going to be the base tune that I create. Whenever I make a revision, we do some data logging and I make any changes, I'll make it 1.1 and so on and move up. If we make any major changes to the tune, I'll change it to 2.0 or something like that, just to give you something to go on. Not going to touch any of this, not going to touch any of this, none of that. So we'll come back to the Spark table in a few. You can possibly use this video as a guide to kind of how to generate a Spark table. but there are guides online as to how to pretty much take a mechanical table and a vacuum based table and make a 3D or a 2D smooth timing table. Like you essentially combine a mechanical and a vacuum. So mechanicals have their pros and cons, vacuums have their pros and cons. Electronic ignition or timing control is where it's at because you get the best of both worlds. I can't talk right now. So anyways, fueling. This is just a base rich as hell fuel table. The graph actually looks good because it's nice and smooth. Granted, it's had no changes because our learning table's never been transferred. So we have, pulling 21% here, 10 to 15% around the outskirts. Down here, it's pulling 10 to 15 in cruise areas. Up high, it's actually adding fuel, which is kind of funny. So to get a starting point, um, what you normally don't want to do is just transfer this and smooth. All right. For someone doing just a handheld, it's not going to mess with the laptop ever. Yes, you transfer, you smooth, you transfer, you smooth. You keep doing that like 5, 10 times, something like that. Try to drive under different conditions. If you have a manual, drive in different gears so it can load up the car in different cells, or an automatic that can manually shift. Put it in different cells. You want to, put it in different gears. Drive through the RPM ranges. If you have an area where you can load it up, like going uphill, do that as much as possible. Low load areas, high load areas, uphill, downhill, things like that. You want to fill this table up and hit all these unhit cells that are just white zeros as much as possible. The more you drive in the cell area, the better the reading is going to be as far as what changes are needed. Um, if you're on a dyno, the dyno can do this for you. You can apply loads and it will literally shift you in the cells you will need to tune, and you can tune the cells to perfection essentially. But we don't have that. We're going to be street tuning this thing with data logs or live tuning. Not sure yet, but to start off with, to get ballparked, it's a crazy reduction at idle, and then it kind of scales from there. I'm going to transfer learning the base, and I'm not going to smooth. I'm going to do the smoothing myself. So we're going to transfer that. This target air fuel ratio is the same thing. It's simple, and these are really rich values in my opinion. So we're actually going to change these. I actually changed these on the handheld after I pulled the SD card. So for me, idle is better around 14. Cruise is better around 14.5. That wide open throttle is good to go. Now we're going to change it to 2D now that we have this ballpark. So his idle is around 950, I think. Let's see, right here. So idle, yeah, 950 once it's warm. I parked. I'm not going to touch any of this stuff. These are all the defaults, I think. They look to be the defaults. Not going to touch any of those. Not going to touch any of these. He might drop this idle down later. I'm not going to do anything with it right now. So target air fuel. We're going to smooth this out some, and we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way of blending. So let's see here. Ideally, the best way I like to do this is we go 2 cells above, 2 cells below, and we're just going to fill column values, column being up and downs. Then we go 2 behind, 2 behind, 2 below, and we're going to fill row values. Then we're going to take this whole thing. We're actually going to take this area down here, these low load areas. We're going to make these down here 14.7. Then we're going to take this whole area, and we're going to smooth that whole thing. That's going to be our starting point, and see how the car likes this once it starts getting there. Now, ideally, I would play with the timing with it live and see how the vacuum likes the timing being adjusted, and see how the fueling changes react to how it's idling. I don't have the car to do that with right now, so I'm going to do this as a base. I'm going to say 14. Well, that's actually, how do we do that? Yeah, that's right, never mind. I'm gonna say this is a good 14 is a good starting point from the 13.5 it was. We'll see how rich it is at that point once it learns this. We might be making changes to this after the fact. But I don't know this motor. I don't know what cam's in it. I don't know the compression ratio. I know nothing of the internals of the engine. So we're just gonna kind of have to play with it and see what the engine likes. So let's see. Let's go ahead and save. Nothing to any of these enrichments. Learn table is clear. Fuel graph. You see how it looks like after the transfer. Technically, the car was running off of the table that looks like this because it combines the learn table with your base fuel table. So once it's cleared, it doesn't, I mean, it's combining 0% add or subtracted. But this graph is what it was looking like with it running because it combines the two. So don't think me transferring it made, oh, you just made it terrible. You made it worse than it was. It was nice and smooth before. Trust me, this is how it was, how the engine was running was off of this graph because it combines the two. So we're going to take this and we're going to end up blending this out like this right here. So there's an oddball. You got a random dip here. This is probably just a cell that's not hit. So I'm just going to highlight these and we're going to fill selected values, make those the same. Let's see here. We are going to blend these in a little bit better. So let's take these and we're going to fill column values. I'm going to take this here and fill row values. And then we're going to take this whole area and smooth that, just that section for the time being. Now let's see what the graph looks like. A lot better than it was. We still got some dips. Got a good little increase here. We got a dip right here. So that is at the, I hate that I can't scroll like I want to. That is 4750 RPM at 72 kPa. So 4750, 72 kPa is like, that's right here. Not sure why that's. Take this whole thing and smooth it once. Now we're nice and smooth. There's going to need to be more changes. Like I said, whenever I get back to the car, this is just a base for it to run off of. Whenever I get back to the car, I'll hook my USB to it, and it'll actually put a little yellow dot where it's at, and I will make manual adjustments to the cells. And then once I make those manual adjustments to the cells, I'll know the ones that I make adjustments to are accurate. And then I just have to blend the surrounding ones to be close to that number, essentially. So it's kind of, sure I'm confusing some with this because you can't see it. But ideally, you're going to have lower numbers the further down and left you go. As you go right and up, the numbers should increase theoretically. Not always necessarily, but should. But anyways, so say the car's idling right here at this cell right here. Actually, hold on. Even better, I can do another one. I did data log an idle, which you're not going to be able to see the data log window because I don't have it recorded. Or I'm not recording it, but you'll be able to see the dot I'm talking about. I think it's this one. Alright. You can watch a data log video I made that'll show this. So here's idle. See where it's put in the circle. Now all I'm doing is rolling across the data log of where it's idling. So this is our idle area right there. Make sure it's staying in that zone. Yeah, it's bouncing around right in there. So that's our idle area. All I'm doing is just arrow keying across the data log, the time essentially of how long it's recorded. It's about a 30-second data log. And all I did was just to do that so I could capture what vacuum it's pulling. Obviously, you see it's pulling right around 55 kPa. and it's idling at about a 14 to air fuel ratio, which is because, like I said, after the fact, I did adjust the targets after I pulled the tune, so it actually was closed loop was accounting for it, or the learn was accounting for the target change. So, anyways, with it running, that's what you'll see, this little circle bouncing around. And you can go down here where these sensors are, and you can arrow over. So like idle tuning, we'll have our target AFR and our AFR, and you want to essentially tune these cells. You'll have to turn off closed loop and learn so they're not fighting you, which you, like I said, you'll just go into here and you'll just uncheck that, and now you'll be able to make changes to this table without the closed loop and the learn, which, if you don't know, closed loop is short-term fuel correction, learn is long-term fuel correction, or short-term trim, long-term trim. So once those are off, the ECU won't be trying to make corrections while you're making corrections. It'll be running off strictly this fuel table. So you add fuel, it makes it rich. You subtract fuel, it makes it lean. The computer won't save you. So if you sit here and reduce all the fuel, or you punch zeros into these fields, you're going to instantly lean out the car, and the engine's going to die. So be careful when you make changes. Ideally, I don't punch in numbers here. I will use the arrow keys. I want to say it's control and shift. One does 1% and the other one does 5%. I don't remember which one's which. But I will adjust this area until my target matches my actual AFR, or my actual AFR matches my target, whatever. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll have him drive, or someone drive the car, and I'll be in the passenger seat with live tuning, and I'll have them cruise. So with them cruising, it might be, out here or here or something like that, and I'll tune those areas to meet the target. And I'll just have him adjust speeds or gears, and I'll manually adjust until the AFR matches the target as close as possible. And I'll usually do it like that. I'll highlight. I won't do one single cell because it bounces around some. So I'll highlight something like that. I'll always do like a 3x3. It's the most accurate way, from, in my opinion, to be able to hit them. But anyways, close out of that. Fuel graph, like I said, our graph's pretty smooth. I'm not gonna mess with the fuel graph anymore. So close out of that. Let's hit save again just in case. Spark, onto that. So I'm not gonna mess a whole lot with his cruise. I'm not going to mess with his wide open throttle. I'm not going to change his idle a whole lot because I haven't driven the car. I don't know how it's doing. The only thing I'm going to do is make this transition smooth. And the best way I know to do that, so this idle was actually, his idle timing was, it seemed to like, well, so it has a spark, idle spark is an option, which is, where's idle spark at? Is it under EFI? Might be under EFI. I don't remember where idle spark is located. Huh. Under sensors. Well, anyways, can't remember where the setting's at. But anyways, idle spark, what it does is it will actually adjust your timing to try to keep the, oh, it's probably under idle. I'm stupid. Yep, right here, idle spark. There we go. So it will adjust your timing to try to make sure your engine stays at the target idle, which is 950. So if it starts to dip, it'll increase timing. If it goes too high, it'll retard timing, and so on, to keep the RPM where it's supposed to be. So usually the way to find the best timing for your idle is you disable idle spark, you come in here, and you essentially adjust your timing up and down until your engine pulls the most vacuum at idle, if I recall, while still having a snappy response. But I want to say you go up until you start to see it level off or until the vacuum starts to go down again. It's been a while since I've looked up the best way to set your idle timing because 15 is essentially your stock. I want to say it might be 12, somewhere around 12 to 15 is your like stock 351 idle timing. This is not a stock engine. It's a stroker engine. It has a cam. It has aluminum heads. So more than likely, this timing would be better higher. The reason it's only idling at like you can't see the data log, but it's bouncing between like 15 and 17. The main reason it doesn't want to go higher is because the actual idle RPM was already met because the throttle blades need to be opened up a little bit and let some more air in and drop the IAC down because the IAC was wanting to hold open more than I prefer. But I want to say this idle can probably go up some. I'm not going to mess with raising that at the moment. I'll do that later. But for the time being, we will do this. So let's see, that's 5 cells above, so we'll go 5 cells below this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're gonna fill row value or fill column values. All right, and we're gonna take this one. We're gonna go 3 here. All right, so not the blue one, one below. So 3 back, and then 1, 2, 3 forward, and we're gonna fill column value. Or no, that'll be row values. We did column the first time, right? It should be row values. So row is across, column above. Now we're going to take this and we're going to go right about here and back to here. And we're going to fill selected values. Now, let's see. Do this whole thing. There we go. Except that's way off of what I wanted to do. Actually, let's undo that. I don't want to do that. Let's go. Fill selected does like row and column together. I forgot about that. So let's see. Row. And we're going to do this. And let's see, we need to do this still. So it's 5 below, 5 above. I should have gone all the way down when I did this over here. I didn't. Let's go. Let's revert back. Start over. So 5 above, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 below, all the way over. Is that right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's going to be column values. Now, 3 here. So 3 over 3. We're actually going to go over to 5. God dang it. I can't do anything, right? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And fill row values. There we go. That's gooder. We're going to keep this all 15. So if it changes it, we'll just go back and revert it. So we're going to take this, smooth that whole thing. Now we have a smooth transition. Let's see what this graph looks like. Much gooder. Much smoother. So we still have our 15-degree idle. I'm actually going to raise this area because if the ignition timing ever wants to dip, we want it to jump up and save itself. So we're going to take this area and make this 16. And we'll smooth this out. Fill selected. I'm going to bump this to and I'm going to bump this a little bit up. Selected. Let's see. Make sure our graph's still smooth there. It's going to be down in this area. Still good. Alright. I don't know if this 36-degree cruise is going to be too much or not. It might end up being. I might end up dropping this area's timing a little bit more. But we'll see how it likes it. It's a whole lot of 36. Actually, it's low load, so it should be fine. We're going to make this 34 here. Wow, that whole area. Do that. Do that. And smooth the whole thing again. Alright. That should be a little bit better. So we got 34 degrees all in. Change that. There we go. 34 degrees all in right here. Column. And then 36 degrees cruise, right around a 16 degree idle. I'm going to say that's where we're going to go for a starting point. It has no problems cranking, has no problems idling. I might need to make some adjustments to the throttle blades, I'm sure, since I've increased the timing a little bit. And like I said, the IAC was hanging open a little more than it needed to be, so I think these throttle blades need to be open. Yeah, at idle it was like 30% IAC, so the throttle blades need to be open a little bit so the IAC's not working as hard. The IAC should be around 8-10%, somewhere in there. At idle, once it's up to temp, I'll text him and find out what his what he wants his rev limit to. Realistically, I could dial this top end back and give myself more. I always blank on the term, but a more accurate range. Like instead of it jumping up 250 RPM increments, if I wanted to dial in an area, I could free up probably at least 3 of these rows here, because I doubt he's going to redline 7 grand. But he might end up setting it to 6,800, and in which case I'll just change either this to 68, or I'll leave this 7 and just leave that as a little bit of a high end. I know this word's going to hit me later, but you can make certain areas that you're driving in have more cell coverage than other areas. So if you're building a race car, you're going to want your wide open throttle, high RPM areas to have more range or more cell coverage than jumping big increments. But whereas idle might not be that important, or at least the in between areas. So you might have your like 3 rows worth for idle, and then this whole area be your wide open throttle, upper RPM range where you want to dial it in more accurate. But anyways, that's essentially what you would do, taken from a wizard tune to an actual laptop tune. Like I said, this is just a base. I'm building off of numbers that are in the car. I haven't drove the car. I haven't ridden in the car. I don't know how well it liked these numbers. I didn't pull plugs. I didn't do any of that. Usually you'd want to check all this stuff, but we're going to do this. He didn't say he's having any issues. He said the only thing out of what we talked about or discussed was it was running rich. So, like I said, we adjusted our target air fuels. We dialed idle from 13.5 to 14. Cruise was 14 up to 14.5, and I put even these upper cruise areas to 14.6, 14.7. Normally you're going to be cruising probably right around this area if I had to guess. But like I said, I'll data log. I'll see what it's hitting. You see how it puts this little yellow circle? That's what a data log overlay does. When you open a data log up in the Sniper software, you can scroll through the data log and it will show you the cells that it's hitting during that time, and you'll be able to review, what ignition timing you're at, what closed loop's doing, what learn's doing, what what your vacuum is, etc. RPM, throttle position, temps, any other sensors you have. You'll be able to review your target air fuels, your actual air fuels, and see what needs to be changed. So that's the nice thing of data logging. But we'll stick with this. Hit save. I don't think I need to do anything else with this car. It was mainly just dialing back the fuel and then changing the spark table to an actual 2D table. And I'll just see how the car likes this timing table. I might have to make some adjustments to it. I just kind of ballparked it real quick. I'm sure it'll be having some more changes done to it. That's it. If you have any questions, post up some comments. Like I said, it's been a while since I've been in the software. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos. I will be messing with my car again probably in the near future. I will be taking on another tuning job or another car. So this one, like I said, it's a 393 65 Mustang. I got a buddy of mine that's got a 68 coupe that he's putting, I think he said a 363. It's one of those 302 dart blocks that's stroke and board. I want to say he said a 363 stroker, but it's going to have a blower on it as well. So I'll be tuning that car. It's got a Super Sniper, one of the 8 injectors like my car does. So I'll essentially be doing a full tune on that car. So we'll probably run the Wizard on it to get it up and running and drivable. And then I'll build a base off of that. But I'll let the Wizard fill in all the blanks for me, and I'll make adjustments after that, depending on how it fires up and everything. Luckily, this car, like I said, this thing fires up beautifully. You like turn the key over and it just immediately lights up and idles just phenomenal. I was really surprised at how well it ran. Aside from like I said, the targets being pretty rich and the spark table just wizard generated. That's it. Like I said, post comments, ask questions. I'll try to start doing some more of these videos. If anyone wants anything specific, I will see if I can make that happen. I haven't messed with any troubleshooting stuff in a while. As far as issues with snipers, there's a lot of videos out there already. Some of the videos I've made. I never got around to doing a playlist of troubleshooting different things. I found the notebook I wrote the other day of different topics. I was gonna make a whole playlist. If you're having surge issues, look at this. If you want to learn how to set up ignition control, this is it. Or timing control. If you're having wiring issues, fuel injector troubleshooting, fuel pressure troubleshooting, all the different problems you might encounter with Sniper. That was one of the things that was most requested, and it literally just boiled down to being so much time consuming with setting up to do it, recording it, and then editing the video so it wasn't an hour long like this video is turning into. And like most of my other videos where I ramble forever and talk non-stop, but I'm sure I'm boring the piss out of some of you. But yeah, I guess that's it. Until next time, guys.